Are we going to have Fabopalooza this upcoming week? We're going to have great pitching prospects again debuting this week, and Matt Mervis getting the call. Here to talk about it and more is our good friend Paul Sporer, who's celebrating a Tigers sweep coming up on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff Erickson here with the great Paul Sporer of Fangraphs, Rotographs, Sleeper in the Bus podcast. He's on Twitch, he's on Twitter, he's everywhere. He's Paul Sporer, he's everyone. How are you doing, Paul? Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on. I'm doing pretty well. You know, the season's in full swing now. We flipped the calendar over to May. Things are really kind of getting into that daily groove. I think we all kind of have our routines mapped out, and I kind of love the everyday of it during the season and that real hardcore grind. So the newness is worn off, and now we settle in.
Yeah, so I need that newness to wear off because the first month for me was just awful. I have three main event teams, and the highest I'm at is like 9th in the three of them, and I'm dead last in one of them there. I needed the calendar to turn. Unfortunately, it's not turning all that well. We'll get into that momentarily, but it's been a grind for me, and I not a grind for me. That's not the right word. It's been a challenge for me, and I felt like coming up to draft day for the main events, I felt like I was still catching up. I don't know why I feel that way this year, but that's carried over into the season for me.
Could be a situation where competition is getting tighter, so we kind of feel like we're behind more as well. But I feel the same thing. I don't know if you've heard, I know we can't all listen to everyone's pods or else we would have no time to do anything. But I've been talking about how bad my team's been doing too. I'm in dead last. I am damn near the last of the main event, like overall. And yet I look at my team and I'm like, yeah, it's clearly struggling and there's clearly pockets of issues, but I don't look at it as a complete loser. Maybe that's just delusion. I'm fine with some people believing that, but I had a similar issue last year where my team languished in kind of the bottom 3 to 5 spots there, but I never gave up. I kind of whined with Justin through it day in, day out on the pod and on G-Chat. He's like, no, stay in there, hang in.
Yep.
And then I was kind of in contention at the end. Kyle Gibson screwed me over out of a cash spot, but that's a one-off thing. But you got to keep grinding. It really is a long season. We say all these cliches, not just because they're cliches and they're the right thing to say, but because they're true. And you and I are going to bear that out. We're going to be grinding all year. And maybe these teams don't rise up. Maybe you just have a loser sometimes because nothing goes right. But you got 3 shots. I got 1. Between the 4 of us, I bet we get at least a 50-50 and 2 of these teams get out of the cellar and do some things. And maybe 2 of them are off to the side. I don't know. But I refuse to give up after 4 or 5 weeks. There's just no universe where I'll ever do that.
Right. I'm with you on that completely. But for now, our Vegas mains are in the 700 club, and we'll just that's a new term.
We do need God, by the way.
Yes, we do.
That was a religious show for those that don't get the reference.
Yeah. Again, going for the nice, timely, young hipster references that I do all the time there.
The 40-plus reference.
Yes, exactly. Kansas City Moose, Anthony Giolotti asks, what's on your hat, by the way?
Oh, it is. I'm glad you asked. I figured somebody might. It is a Hornets nest. This is for the Charlotte Black Hornets, a Negro League team.
Nice.
I've told the story a couple of times, but I got super lucky. These days when you're on Twitter, you follow a bunch of people. You have to kind of catch what's on there at that moment. Someone says, did you see my tweet? I'm like, well, was I on Twitter the moment you tweeted it? Because if not, then no. But I happened to be on Twitter one day randomly in the afternoon. Charlotte Knights, the AAA team, was advertising these. They had Billy Hamilton, who's now up in the majors, advertising the whole uniform that they were going to wear that weekend. I was like, checking the team store right away. Instantly got it. So there's a beehive with a little stick sticking out there. It was a must-cop hat, though. The Charlotte Black Hornets, available in the Charlotte Knights team shop.
Awesome. There you go. Thank you for asking, and there you go. I like it there. All right, let's start off with some big news here. We'll start off with some good news. Your Detroit Tigers swept the Mets in a doubleheader yesterday and then finished off the series today, beating old friend Justin Verlander 2-0. The 2 runs coming in the first inning. Solo homers by Riley Green and Javi Baez, who might be waking up just a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
Good times, at least for 3 days.
Felt great. First off, sweeping a doubleheader is remarkably difficult, even if even the other way, the Mets being way better than the Tigers, even sweeping the A's, Tigers, Royals, Nats, that's difficult to do in a day. So for the underdog team to sweep a quality team, that's a lot of fun. And then to get Justin, It was kind of a double-edged thing. Like, I wanted Justin to do well. He's on that aforementioned main event team. But the Tigers getting the dub against him without him having a terrible start, those were the only 2 runs he gave up, didn't feel so bad. So I kind of got the best of both worlds there, even though I didn't cop a pitcher win. But yeah, they're playing a bit better. I don't expect major things from this team. I just want them to play some competitive ball, 5 times a week. They don't have to win 5 games a week, obviously, but 5 out of the 7 days, play a damn good game, please. And early on, it was rough. Now they're actually competitive. They're pulling some W's, some walk-offs, some good pitching performances. It's not a dread to watch them every day the way it was kind of getting to last year and then early this year. So I'm in. I still watch my Tigers every day. I won't pretend that I don't leave sometimes in the middle of a game if it's a big pitcher duel that I want to watch starting up elsewhere. But 7 o'clock or whatever the time, it's usually 6 in Central. Whenever the Tigers are starting, I'm there.
I treat the Reds the same way. I at least start my day with, if they're on the same time, I'll start with them. I may not last, especially because broadcast crew is okay.
We both have that, by the way. Our broadcast crews are not the best.
Yeah. I like Chris Welsh when he's on for them. But yeah, the rest of the crew, it's all right. It's a bit of a house organ, and I like a little bit more critical thinking on there a little bit there.
Yep.
I will say for Verlander in his debut, not bad. 5 innings, 5 Ks, 2 earned. You got through his 79 pitches. I mean, basically this is like spring training plus start for him.
Exactly.
It just happens that he got no run support. I mean, 0.0 on that. And that's because one of the better quiet stories of the year is Eduardo Rodriguez. 8 shutout, 9 Ks, 2 hits, 1 walk, down to 1.81 ERA. Much to the scourge of some people on the Twitterverse, but
the mouth got to be spinning in his grave.
Yeah,
he's not dead.
No, hey, this is better than what people were touting for him last year. This is A++ performance here, and it's unlikely to last as the weather heats up, but nonetheless, pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when Eduardo Rodriguez came over to the Tigers, I was expecting basically those same skills that he had with the Red Sox to play up a little bit, being in both the AL Central versus the AL East and the ballpark. I thought those 2 factors would turn him into just a better pitcher, even with the exact same skills. That kind of low 4s ERA with that upper 1.2s, low 1.3s whip. Take that into Comerica, put it in the AL Central from the AL East, and I think you're looking at 360 to 390 ERA with a low 120s whip. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I believe he could have done that last year if he didn't have a health issue and then B, an off the field where he left the team for a bit. Now, healthy, looking great again. I think he can do that. He's well above that right now. He'll smooth out a little bit. I don't think Eduardo's necessarily a brand new guy, but he is cooking on all cylinders. And Anthony asks, is he got to be on the block big time? If a team will take on that contract, I do think he could be on the block. Pitching's hard to find. If he stays pitching really well and really kind of is this year's Martin Perez, where he's kind of way over his skis for a whole full half, then maybe the Tigers can cash in a big way. And frankly, I wouldn't be against that because I don't think he's going to be part of their next great team.
He's in year 2, though, of a 5-year, $77 million deal. I mean, it's rare to see a guy traded that early in a contract.
Isn't there an opt-out?
I don't know. There might be.
I also don't know what happens with those with trades. Sometimes those get deactivated with trades and things like that too. So it's hard to know for sure how on the block Eduardo Rodriguez will be.
Yeah, I'm not certain either, but I would bet he isn't. But we'll see. I mean, new front office, so it's hard to say. It wasn't like the current GM is the one who signed this contract.
True, but he's also 30. So if they do keep him and they do think, hey, we're on a 3-year plan, this year included, Eduardo Rodriguez would still be there and wouldn't be anywhere near old, right? The end of this deal is age 33, so there's no reason that they can't keep him, even if they do believe that they're 2, maybe even 3 more years away. At least that would be the last year of the deal. And at the very least, you would think that a healthy Eduardo Rodriguez can at least eat up 160-plus useful innings for you, even if he's not at his best. But right now, he's at his best.
There's one team that wouldn't be afraid of his contract. The Mets.
That's true. They're like, hey, we don't care. We need pitchers now too. They had depth, and all of a sudden, that's why you never have too much depth. That again,
Right.
talking about cliches from earlier. That's why that cliche will never die, because it's so true. The second that you think you have depth, the baseball gods will strike down 3 pitchers in 2 days and laugh at you.
Exactly. Plus, they've already blown through the luxury cap
Exactly.
thresholds. There's reports about Steve Cohen winning a license to build a casino basically in the parking lot of the stadium there, which means he would be printing money with all that there. So, you think about that. And that's why he doesn't care about the taxes either, by the way. If he gets that, if the luxury cap, luxury tax, he's like, whatever. It's the cost of doing business.
I got the money. I'm trying to win, which is the way owners should be. You get in this, and it really is a spend money to make money thing. Sure, you can pocket the money, and it can just be a bank of steady amount of money, even as a low-end team. But to really turn it into a cash cow, and these owners, they're super rich, they're greedy dudes, right? They make much more money if they actually try. Like it's right there. I don't know why so many of them just sit on their hands and don't actually try to make the big bucks, which you definitely can.
Yeah, a lot of them want the sure thing. And after the COVID year, I get that. And some owners might not be as liquid. I'm looking at you, Cincinnati. And the devastating losses that the Castellini family suffered. Oh, with the heart bleeds. But
bummer.
Yeah. But you can kind of see that. So anyhow, I could see that happening. All the Mets. I saw on Mets Twitter a lot today about, okay, we got to reform this lineup here, shake it up, got to get rid of Vogelbach, got to do this. They're around 500. They're not the Cardinals. They're not the White Sox.
Exactly. This is like a run-of-the-mill bat. You're at even, right? Nothing's happened. And now you just got 2 aces back in the last 2 days. I know Scherzer was down a bit, and it might have been an effect of him not really wanting to use the rosin at all, because while he was not cheating, I believe him. Personally, I believe it was rosin and sweat, but it can create some pretty good tack. And then they made him wash his hands with alcohol, which actually heightens that impact.
Right.
So it looked like he was really using some sticky stuff. He was using what is allowed, and he sweats like crazy. But anyway, I don't think he's cooked or anything. I think he was being really cautious with what he used yesterday because he didn't want to get popped again. And Verlander will ramp up. They're going to be fine. I really believe that, even with the lineup. I'm a big Brett Beatty guy. They got him in. I think the top half of that lineup will be fine. Alonso's already been excellent. If I'm the Mets, I'm not sweating anything right now.
Yeah, I agree. Just make sure you play Beatty even against lefties, and maybe move him up in the order.
Let him play.
Yeah, exactly. And I think things will come around for them. I know they've been star-crossed so far. I'm not so sure the Cardinals are going to come around, on the other hand. They got swept by the Angels, and it was ugly today. All 9 Angels hitters had a hit by the top of the 3rd inning.
Jeez, that is crazy. Now, this Angels team, by the way, they're actually an interesting team themselves in that they're being treated as though they suck again. And for one, they don't now. They've been trending around 500, and now with this sweep, they're actually at 18-14. So. Can we start to give them some love? I don't really care. I'm not like
they got to give themselves some love and stop treating everything. You saw that the other day. Sam Blum from The Athletic tweeted out that he can't interview a coach unless it gets approved by the minders in the PR and front office. In the case of it, they have to ask a negative question. They have to ask the line of questioning first. He previously got uninvited from a writers forum thing because he was not showing enough positivity, or is too much negativity or something of that nature. That was a couple of weeks ago. So that's 2 strikes against the Angels.
That is brutal. They're always trying to shoot themselves in the feet over there. I root for them because I want Trout and Ohtani in the playoffs so desperately. But I do think they have a pretty good crew. You talk about the Cardinals, though. Let's go back to them. Jack Flaherty getting absolutely trounced today. We've seen some really ugly starts this week. Braxton Garrett, really fun streamer and kind of a deeper league pickup, wore it yesterday against the Braves. And Jack Flaherty takes this one today, 10 runs. The bottom line is that they might have enough talent to call out of it, but you're banking so many losses right now at 10-22. We talk about the other end of that often, banking wins, like the Pirates. They're 20-12. They might not be great, and from here on out, they could be 500, and that would still be a pretty decent season. It works the other way, too. When you're 10-22, you're really banking a lot of losses right now, and can they really climb all the way out of it? The interesting thing is, This is the rotation that they built on purpose. Like, yeah, they'd have Waino over Woodford. That wouldn't change much at all. But it's this contact heavy rotation that is built on letting the defense turn their batted balls into outs, and it's just not working. They don't have enough dominance. The lineup has been fine. It hasn't been monstrous, but it's been okay. It also just hasn't come through in the clutch. They are 10th in average, 12th in OBP, and 13th in OPS, but 21st in runs. They're not cashing in when they need to. Compound that with the ugly pitching staff, and boom, you're 10-22. And I really don't think they're going to be able to make it all the way out. It would take a miraculous run, similar to what the Nats did that one year when they were way down and they came all the way back. But right now, you cannot predict it. It would be one of those where it's a miracle devil magic story. I mean, we always do the devil magic thing, but it would be one of those stories right now. They're already at that point where the Cardinals, to come back, have to go on a pretty historic run.
So you're sitting in their GM's chair right now. How do you flip around? Do you call up Liberatore now? Do you?
I do. I call him. I mean, I'm going to keep trying, right? Because
yep.
They do have a lot of talent still, and it is at least in the cards. We do still have 5 months. I do think it will be remarkably difficult, but I don't think you got to throw it in right now, and you don't start trading things until at least mid-June. So right now, you bring up the guys. I don't know if it's time to fire Oli Marmol. I hated the way he handled the Tyler O'Neill thing.
Same.
Praise in public, critique in private. Like, it's just the golden rule of managing people. It's so easy to do that. Dressing down your players as a tough power play is so pathetic. It's like the most insecure thing you can do. So even if a player's out of line, like I thought Baez was handled brilliantly by Hinch. Took him in the back tunnel. Yep. Everyone knew what was happening, but you didn't see him get dressed down and get embarrassed. He got taken out. He accepted it. And by the way, he's been killing. You said Baez is coming alive. You can date it right back to getting benched, by the way. I'm not saying that that's the cause, but since then he's been cooking. But anyway, like that poisons the well with O'Neill. And what if he has his favorites on the team that are supporting him? So then they're against Marmol. That's just creating issues. Like I said, the rotation has been a nightmare. You can't trust Helsley or Gallegos right now. They've both had their issues. So I don't think it's a full blow up though, because first off, what are you going to how much you're going to really trade? You got the two veterans with Goldie and Arenado. I think you call up Liberatore, get him in the rotation, get some measure of some dominance there, see if the other guys can get pulling in the right direction. If you can't start to get out of this 313 win percentage, then yeah, you have to start trading some pieces, but it can't be a teardown. It can only be a retool. They're too far into a window with established veteran type players that you cannot do a full teardown.
Agreed. And, I think Liberatore is a start. Maybe let's get him starting on Saturday. I don't even know what his schedule is like right now, but let's get him a start this week.
Let's get him in the Palooza. Yes.
Right. One more arm to add, which is going to be our next topic. But before we get into Fabapalooza 2023 and the 5 players you must get this week, we're going to go ahead and take care of a little bit of business from our friends at Rival Fantasy. Rival Fantasy is a new advertiser that's been with us for a few weeks now, and we appreciate them. A new MLB season means it's time for a new kind of daily fantasy baseball. Rival Fantasy is the fantasy platform reinventing the way daily and weekly games are played, and they brought new games to the ballpark this year that fantasy players won't find anywhere else. Rival Fantasy games include Fantasy Bingo, head-to-head player challenges, and Fantasy Book, where users can select over-unders for 2 to 5 players. With games like this, daily fantasy has never been better. Right now, RotoWire listeners can get a $50 protected first play. That means if you win your first play, you keep your winnings, of course. But if you lose your first entry, Rival Fantasy will fully refund you up to $50. Go to play.rivalfantasy.com/signup and use code RotoWireMLB at signup and deposit a minimum of $25 to get your first entry on Rival protected up to $50. These first-time things, no matter the platform, that's where you have to take advantage of these. Advantage to get the full value of them. So now's the time to step up to the plate and become a Rival today. Welcome to the arena. Also, our podcasts are on the Blue Wire Network. We indulge them with a couple ads. Here they are right now. All right, it's Fabapalooza time, 2023 style. The last Fabapalooza we had, not so great. Keston Hiura, Austin Riley, and he was good for 4 weeks, and then not so good after that. There, we had some others in that. Let's see.
You know who the gem of it was though was
Cleveland,
because it was so cheap. Oscar Mercado.
Yeah, he was number 6 of 6, I think, and
yeah.
And, he was one of those, he got the stolen bases. He wasn't even like a big time prospect.
No.
Nicky Lopez, though.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh, there's some bad ones in there. Are we doing that right now?
Probably. I mean, it's a pitcher one. And so I don't know. Maybe it's anecdotal. It is because I don't have any data on it. I feel like pitchers sometimes can be a bit more bankable in these FAAB pools, but I guess not because, I spent big on Bradley. Now he's parked in the minors. I don't think it's for performance. I think they're just trying to make sure that, like, they don't need him right now. They're on easy street. So they're like, let's just save his bullets. He's thrown one inning. He actually got rocked in the one start he threw down there. But we've seen a bunch of pitchers come up. I will say this. All the prospect pitchers who have come up this far had like a great outing before they were able to be picked up in NFBC. I kind of like that this week's bunch toned it down a little bit and didn't have to go out and throw 7 scoreless and send the prices through the roof. Gavin Stone was a bit mediocre. Louis Varland, where he's still available, didn't exactly wow anybody. I'm still interested in both, by the way. Brandon Pfaadt, not available in the main event anywhere. He's 100% roster, but available in plenty of other leagues. He wasn't very good. Still interested in all of those guys. So still guys you want to go out and get, but now you might actually get a reasonable price.
Yeah, exactly. And it is interesting that Pfaadt was 100% rostered in the main. It just means that, hey, everyone drafted him and held him this far, or someone snapped him up right when he got dropped right the following week. But interesting. Let's talk a little Pfaadt because that was a really bad outing, really, really bad outing against the Rangers. But I thought that was kind of a symptom of the conditions that day. Day game in Texas, the roof open. We saw earlier in the season Nola get rocked on opening day against DeGrom, and both got rocked. And the next day, we saw Wheeler also get rocked. We've seen. I just think the conditions are tougher when it's a daytime game there.
And the team. I think Texas is tough. You have to be careful starting folks against them. That park can be good to pitch in when the roof is closed on the airport hangar there. But like you said, roof open, hot day. Ball can fly with a quality team, but even roof closed, that team is a team I'm not dying to get my starters in against. They have Seager down right now, which helps a little bit, but other guys have filled in around the guys who are star level players. So I really think that you have to be careful with Texas. The long ball got him. One of the things we've seen though with Pfaadt is that the long ball has been an issue. Now, a lot of it we've given him a pass for his environments at Double and AAA, and I think that is fair to give some credence to that and say, get him off the hook a little bit, but not completely. I do think right now Brandon Pfaadt is more control than command. Simply put, he can fill the zone and not walk too many guys, but he doesn't always put it where he wants, and that's going to leave you susceptible to home runs, particularly because he's also not super overpowering. He has a decent fastball, but it's really secondary stuff. So I think we need to be mindful of that. Definitely a must roster. I think he's a must roster in all formats because he can be good enough to really game change there, even in 10-teamers. But maybe somebody that you're streaming early on. You're not necessarily, and by streaming, I call it team streaming, where you're not going to cut them after that. You're going to put them on your reserve roster because you don't want other people to get a chance at them. So I'm probably team streaming Pfaadt in shallower formats, but I'm not worried about this rough start in Texas. In 15-teamers and beyond, Pfaadt's going in the lineup, and I'm not touching him right now. I'm giving him 4 or 5 starts before I make any sort of hard assessment one way or the other.
Agreed completely. Interesting that my timeline was full of people like, I can't wait to drop him. I drop him twice if I could.
Our fantasy community, the overreactions, one way or the other, by the way. Bryce Miller is going to be the Cy Young. Brandon Pfaadt
victory
is the biggest loser ever. It's like, come on. But we never learn. It's just the nature of the game, and I get it. We get swept up in things, but sometimes it's kind of funny to laugh at.
Yeah, home starts for his next 2 starts, home against Miami and then home against San Francisco.
Oh, that's perfect.
And keep in mind, Arizona is a good pitcher's park. People don't remember that. It is a good pitcher's park.
Completely
ever since the humidor got put in there.
Underrated too, as a pitcher's park.
Especially in terms of home runs, in particular, suppressing home runs. So we like that, and especially if that is his weakness. How about Miller's Crossing? We saw Mason Miller throw 7 no-hit innings. Great. We saw Bryce Miller have 10 Ks in 6 innings. Great game. Bryce Miller, and Mason Miller is obviously rostered everywhere, but Bryce Miller, he wasn't available last week. Now he is. And he's going to be in there for a while. Robbie Ray's out for the season. The Mariners, even when they called up Bryce Miller, they said, all right, he's going to be in there for a while. We'll get basically a month. I don't know if they gave that exact language, but they implied it's going to be a long-term thing.
Yeah, they said they're committing to Bryce Miller, and why not? This guy looks like he's ready. He is skipping AAA from AA, but he's 24 years old. Timelines these days say that 24 is plenty of time. Plus, AA, AAA, you don't necessarily have to go to AAA to be successful. So I'm not worried that he skipped AAA. It'll be used as the reason that he isn't good if he ends up falling back a little bit. I don't think it's that, though. It's because the big leagues are hard. I think he is ready, though, to at least get this opportunity. I like that Seattle is committing to Bryce Miller, saying, hey, we're going to turn him loose. You have to be careful with Oakland starts. Of course, they're terrible. So it is an elite start against a very crummy team. You don't want to be like, well, this is his level. Of course, you have to be smart and say, okay, he got that team. At least he can get them again with some frequency because the schedule still is unbalanced. It's just not as unbalanced as it used to be. So hopefully he gets some more Oakland starts. But I think Bryce Miller is somebody that, again, I'm consistently starting in most leagues, and at worst, I'm team streaming him. But for now, he's a set it and forget it for these first few. I want to see what Bryce Miller's like. Outside of maybe, I can't even necessarily think of one because even Houston right now doesn't scare me. So if I was thinking of a team in his division, I think I'd be more scared of the Angels than the Astros right now for Bryce Miller. But even then, I think I'm just starting him and I'm seeing where he's at after 5, and then I'll reassess if he's a team streamer or cut or whatever.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that's I think you're on that there. Does he go for more or less or the same as Tanner Bybee did last week?
Less. I think Bybee has kind of been the consensus top guy here. Really just few lists had him higher. There's just some talk, he's better than Al. And by the way, I don't disagree with that. I was propagating some of that myself because I believe that Bybee is kind of the best of the bunch. I do think that people will be smart enough to not overrate the Oakland start for Bryce Miller, and he'll go a bit less. Plus, people are running out of money too. So I think you scale it down just on that factor, and he comes in a bit less than Bybee.
By the way, I whiffed on all these top starters in NFBC environment in FAAB. I'm just not getting them.
Bradley's the only one I got.
How much did you spend to get him?
I got 186 and I had 177. I changed it literally last minute with the clock at 8:59 Central. And I wouldn't have won it otherwise. It was 177. Second bid was 179. So my 186 jumped last second. And I didn't want to go over 2. 186 is still a big number, but I kind of had a tight cap of 2 in my head. And I feel good about it. I still do, even though he's sent out. I think he's going to be a summer gem for me. I'm holding Bradley. The other guys were tough, though. Mason Miller, I like him. I think he's going to give you a nice 100 innings, but the win potential is negative. It's so bad. A, because he's probably going to go 4 innings more often than not, and B, because he's on Oakland. So he was hard to get in on. And then I put competitive bids similar to my Bradley bids on the Cleveland guys, but that just wasn't getting it done. 202 was the low on Bybee, and Allen did go less than that, but not much. So it was tough to get those Cleveland guys.
Yeah. The only place I got Bybee was late. I got him in labor. Mixed labor, which the bids are due 2 hours after all the NFBC ones are, and FSGA league that we started the draft live in Vegas and then finished it online. That one, that league's weird as far as FAAB bidding goes, so I wouldn't read too much into that. But in labor though, there were 11 out of the 15 teams bid, and I did 23. It's $100 budget, not $1,000. And there were a couple of 19s, a 15, a 14. It was competitive bidding, and I also have a ghost ship of a team. There's so many injuries. So happy to, I needed to do something bold and aggressive to shake up the team.
I like it.
And kind of like Mazziliak needs to do.
Yes, he does. He absolutely needs to do. I say trade Tyler O'Neill, call up Liberatore. There's your 2 pitchers.
All right,
try to
at
least change up 2/5 of the, and then you get Wainwright back. That's 3/5 of it, and you see if that gets it going. Because again, I don't mean to reiterate that point, but you can't flip over the table on the Cards. Their offense is kind of set as is outside of the outfield depth, which you can trade from, and then you're not going to remake the bullpen on the fly either.
Yeah, you got to leave the cards on the table. Can't flip it.
You do have to leave the cards on the table.
Absolutely. All right, Gavin Stone, not a great outing against the Phillies for the Dodgers. Tough matchup, first of all.
For sure.
The tricky part here is we don't know if he's going to get another start or how long he's in the rotation. They have a 6-man rotation right now. Thor's got a 6.32 ERA though, so he could be on a tight leash, but Stone's got to actually beat that before he displaces Thor, though. I think
that's definitely true, and it does make it really difficult. And I think it will create some low prices, and I'm certainly going to be capped in where I want to go with Gavin Stone. I believe he's a talented arm, and if they committed to him, I would see myself getting into triple digits. An elite changeup for a prospect definitely gets me excited. I like seeing that when they have fastball command and or a ready-made changeup. Those are two things from prospect pitchers that I'm like, yo, I'm really, really interested in that. But time right now is the question, like what kind of time he's going to get to start Gavin Stone. You mentioned Thor. He does suck. I was hoping that they could be a reclamation project for him because I just love Thor. I root for him, but man, he doesn't have the spice on his pitches at all. None of them. The velo's down. The secondary stuff isn't good. He is just not. He should be called Syndergaard from now on. He doesn't even get the Thor nickname anymore because
the fat Thor.
Yeah, exactly.
End game there, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. But then what's up with Gonsolin, right? Because he had that great year last year, and I will say to a T, the fantasy community was kind of out on him. Yeah. And I think kudos to the fantasy community as a whole. Rarely do we all kind of pull in that same direction on a player that, like, yeah, we probably should be out on, and don't pay face value for 2.14 ERA, 0.87 whip because we knew it wasn't going to last. He's been off to a rough start. Injuries have always been a problem. Maybe he's better off in the bullpen, 2-3 innings. Maybe it's a Thor Gonsolin tandem that you go with, and then you get Gavin Stone in right now and you let him do his thing. I wonder if 3 innings from both of them would be better.
Maybe. But I'll say this. Gonsolin's made 2 starts, and he skipped his last rehab start to get back into that rotation because they had a need. So he's kind of coming. I think, like we were saying with Verlander earlier, it's spring training, spring training plus, except it counts. Then again, we kind of knew. I mean, like you said, the fantasy community was on this. He was clearly pitching to, a better defense behind him last year than he had this year, with the shifting abilities maximized, and ran the gamut of good luck as well. And all of those things. There was going to be a correction there. It's probably not as bad as it is right now.
That's true. I don't want to imply that he's going to carry a negative strikeout minus walk. He's the better of the two between Gonsolin and Thor. I think Gonsolin's the better of the two. But maybe give him 4 innings and then 2 to 3 for Thor. But I think maybe tandeming those two. I don't know if tandeming is a word, but putting those two in a tandem. Oh, it is. Yeah, it is now. But maybe putting those two together so that you can use Stone regularly. Maybe that is the move because, I'm not worried about them either. I mean, they're leading their division. They're 19-13. We're acting like they suck, by the way. The way you hear people talk about the Dodgers, you would think that they are 13-19 and not leading their division by a game and a half. But so I'm not really worried about them, just because they don't have a lineup that runs like 12 players deep, and instead it's like 6-7 players deep this year. But the starting pitching does not have the depth of yesteryear. Outside of Kershaw, who do you really trust? And Urias, who do you trust day in, day out?
And Urias also has some flaws as well, by the way.
Exactly. He's not without his. So I think they need to find a way to get Stone in, and then eventually Bobby Miller down the line. Yeah. I think you really want to commit to Kershaw.
Still too.
Pepio's got crazy
recovers.
stuff. I think he's at least a late inning reliever, if not something more. So
I don't like him as a late inning reliever because he can't throw a strike. But
that's also scary, right? Because that's how you blow a game very easily. Is all of a sudden you walk the bases loaded, and now a single loses the ball game. So that's a fair point too. But he has nasty stuff, and that's what I'm trying to convey with Pepio. So I don't know. With Gavin Stone, you got to be careful on these bids though, because he could be down next week for a month. You just don't
could
know.
Get skipped. Very easily.
And I will say this: it is probably better that he had a crummy start though, because if he'd had a great start, people would probably bid thinking, well, he had a great start, he's going to stay up. And I don't think how long he stays up is dependent on that start. I don't think that the crummy start means that he's more likely to be sent down. I think Gavin Stone, it was a one-off start, and they're going to assess it whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. So this is probably going to protect people from themselves with the Gavin Stone bids.
Yeah, so we won't necessarily romance the Stone, but we will go ahead and go after him there. Thank you very much.
I thought we were going to skip Stones earlier.
Yeah, nice. I like that there. The Dodgers are playing the long game too. I think that's the other thing.
Always.
Kershaw's going to get that extra day of rest when we can give it to him.
100%.
I think
they're the Spurs when the Spurs were good.
Yep. Same with May, by the way. Dustin May is going to get the same treatment, kid gloves treatment there. So, and they're back to back. So if you can give them those extra days, they're going to do it. So I'm looking at our projected starters grid, and they have off day today. They have off day next Thursday. Perfect setup there for six starters, and off you go. So there you go. We teased it earlier. Matt Mervis getting the call. They announced it during the game today in Washington. Cubs blew a game again. Well, actually, they caught up and then they lost, so they didn't actually blow it this time. But they got swept by the Nats. The Nats. And they lost 6 of 7 to the Nats and Marlins on this road trip after being a feel-good story prior to that. Yep. Eric Hosmer bunted in the 9th inning the other day. That was like my sign. Okay, this just stop. Just stop the madness.
I can't stand him. I really can't.
Yeah, it's easy to hate on him, but and don't feel too sorry for him because you can cry him to sleep on his like money-filled pillow, so he'll be fine. But
yeah, he's fine, and he'll probably latch on with another team if they do decide to get rid of him because he makes nothing, right? He's on a min deal because everyone else is paying the big contract. But with Mervis coming up, we fell in love with him. A bunch of us at the Arizona Fall League, First Pitch Arizona, seeing him out there just crushing, and then the next 5 roster moves that the Cubs did all further blocked him. It was Hosmer, then Bellinger, although Bellinger plays the outfield, so that one wasn't as bad. But then Mancini, who I do like, but it's like that was their third guy who can ostensibly play first and block off Mervis. Why do they hate Matt Mervis? I don't get it. I understand maybe having one of those guys, like Bellinger made sense. Start him in the outfield. If things go awry with Mervis, bring Bellinger back to first base, and then you can put somebody else in the outfield or whatever. Like you can finagle your way around it if you're not trying to put all the pressure on the rookie. But what about Matt Mervis suggests that he can't handle playing for a Cubs team that doesn't really have eyes on contention? They want to be better this year, but like they're not a team that has to have every piece pristine and ready for a playoff run. They could have given him 600 plate appearances and just turned Matt Mervis loose. I think they botched this one. Better late than never, and I am very interested, though, because I do think we haven't had many great hitters come up this year as far as prospects, and this could be a game changer, particularly with his power and excellent plate skills.
That was on my list of comments is, this is finally a hitter to bid on there that we're excited about there. And he might even be rostered in a lot of places. I haven't even checked that. In fact,
I'll check it right now.
All right, cool. Yeah. In Maine, I bet you he is rostered in a few places just because... Hey, but there are people who believe in stashing. It'll probably be low. But,
actually, I can't check because he's not rostered in mine, which means there's no way for me to find him. So he kind of has to be rostered in one of yours, right? Or else there's no...
So go to like a Draft Champions League or something like that.
Okay.
And do that. I bet you could find it that way.
But how do I find his main rostering then?
Oh.
That's what I was trying to find.
I don't know. That's a good question, but
he's definitely rostered in some. Some people kept him, and then some others probably had him drafted and cut, so where he'll be on their waiver wire. But in my main, I search Mervis, and it's nowhere to be found.
Okay, I see it. It's 17% rostered in the main, 0% rostered in the 0% started. That's it.
Okay, so super available.
Yes, mega available. That'll be fun.
I'm gonna be going for him. Again, I think this is a power bat that can really make some noise. Could even be a batting average guy. You never know when these sluggers come up. He's had good batting averages coming up. And like I said, brilliant plate skills. Does not strike out for a slugger. Takes his walks. Mervis could be a real game changer hitting like a 270 plus, which is great off the waiver wire. Like there are upsides of 290 plus if things really pop off, but that's not your expectation. I think we could see 260s, 270s with a bunch of power from Mervis. I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, I agree. It's 11% rostered in the online championship, by the way. So in the 12-teamer. So at least in the $350 one. I didn't do the other searches there. Star Platinum makes a good point. Don't forget about Christopher Morel. Has great stats.
Killing it.
Produced at a certain level for the Cubs last year.
Mm-hmm.
And for reasons, isn't getting a chance for the Cubs either.
That's the thing that I don't get. So he is still striking out way too much, 28% with a 15% swinging strike, which says he hasn't really addressed his biggest issue. But if they're expecting a 24-year-old Christopher Morel to just miraculously fix that, they're barking up the wrong tree. So they're kind of, I know we talk about bullets in terms of like pitchers throwing, don't waste your bullets in the minors, but don't waste his good hitting in AAA. Let him play on the major league club, even if he's a super util. I thought it was weird that he didn't make the club, and weird that they're just letting him put up a 530 WOBA, weighted on base average, 1281 OPS if you prefer OPS. Whatever it is, it's all amazing. Why are they letting him waste away in AAA? He's 24 years old. Let him play in the big leagues. He's not going to get any better in AAA.
But you got Mendick. You've got...
Oh, yeah.
You've got who is it? Rios. He's got to be.
Oh yeah, you got to play.
You got Luis Torrens carrying a third catcher spot there for them. But it's all right. The Cubs are fine. I mean, they've only lost 3 out of. I mean, they've only won 3 out of their last 10. The whole division is on it the NL Central right now collectively is on a 18-game losing streak. The
because the
Reds,
Pirates aren't even holding them up because they just lost
the
to the
Reds
Rays.
won on Tuesday night in extra innings. That's the only win for the division this week.
Oh my God, that is brutal.
The Pirates have lost 4 in a row. The Brewers blew a 4-0 lead today and have lost 4 in a row. The Cubs have lost 3 in a row. The Cardinals 6 in a row, and the Reds 1 in a row. So
What
the Reds
a
juggernaut in that division right now in fourth.
The absolute juggernaut of the Reds. Like there's talent sprinkled throughout that division, but the more and more you see these teams underperforming behind the Pirates, the more and more it lends credence to them maybe being able to stick around. Now I don't fully believe in them. I think that they're probably this year's Orioles where they stick around for a while, but in the end they come up short. But not if nobody comes and catches them. The tough part of the Orioles is that they were staying competitive in a remarkably difficult division. So far, the Pirates haven't had to do that. So it does suggest that maybe they'll have a better opportunity to actually fight for these playoffs and get in. And I would love that. I'm pro the Pirates doing well. I can't stand their owner, but for their fans and their players, I'm totally here for it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just, you don't want them to say, well, we're the new Rays. I mean, the Rays are actually, I root for the Rays. I'm friends with Jason Gray. Jason Collette is a huge Rays guy. I want them to do well. I also don't want teams to emulate them, though.
Exactly. I'm torn on it too. Yeah, because other teams see, well, they win with 9 cents, so here's 11 cents. I'm giving you way more than them.
Yeah,
now go win. And it's like, well, it's not just that. They do.
The Rays also have 45 front off analytics people in their analytics department. The Reds have like 2.
I was gonna say, and our 2 teams both have a combined 4.
Yeah, and there was an article in the Cincinnati Enquirer like giving hope. There was the Rays were coming to town. Like the Reds are hoping that that they can be like the Rays. The Rays are giving them inspiration. They're not anything like the Rays.
Literally nothing like them. I do have hope. I will say for my front office, a Tigers fan, for those that don't know, with Scott Harris and company, the only downside of that is that we kind of reset the counter to 0 from the Avila situation, whereas Avila, his rebuild didn't work. So now we have to go back to 0, but at least he believes in analytics and we're going to have an analytics team for the Tigers. But I feel for you as a Reds guy because their ownership makes it clear that they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah. And they did for a while and they had the driveline guy in their front office. And if you look, there's just been improvement among their pitching prospects, but then he left.
They blew it up after 20. Sorry to interrupt you, but they blew it up after 20, and that pissed me off because that was a good team.
Yeah, exactly. They tried winning for a year and a half and decided it didn't take, and they just blew it up.
Unbelievable.
They gave away Iglesias. They said, "Oh, we're going to use that to improve our situation at shortstop." They didn't. They lied. Dick Williams got booted upward. He no longer made a lot of decisions on that team. That was kind of a sign. Dick Williams was actually a good front office guy.
He really was. Yeah, and they just let it go. They still have a lot of talent. I like a lot of their hitters. I like Green and Lodolo, Ashcraft. There's some interesting players in their bullpen. Not enough good bullpen guys, but I don't think that their direction, the guy at the helm, is the right situation right now. But they have talent, and it's being wasted, unfortunately.
It is indeed. Let's talk one other possible pickup guy item. I think this will be another big bid in a lot of leagues. Is Jason Adam. He's available only in 15% of main event leagues, but like 45% in the 12-team RotoWire Online Championship. Check your leagues to see if that applies to Yahoo and ESPN. I bet you he's even lower rostered. It would be my guess. Pete Fairbanks on the IL. Adam has picked up 2 saves. It looked ugly today, but that's also in part because he had an error behind him that extended his outing there. I think Jason, not Adam, but Adam, just singular. He's worth looking at too because he's always had good stuff. He's on the WBC. He has to be good. But
yeah, absolutely. Well, he looked amazing last year. Had really good skills to take a lot of pride in. He came out, put up a 25% strikeout minus walk rate. That's incredible. Did have 8 saves, so he's done it a little bit. I think he's going to be the go-to guy here. There is a bit of a myth of like the Rays never commit to a guy. If they have a guy who's worth committing to, they will. If Fairbanks could have stayed healthy, I feel like he would have been the A guy. Now, just because you're an A guy with Tampa Bay doesn't mean you get every save opportunity. There might be a time in the 8th inning when 3, 4, 5 is coming up and they want you then. But it means you get the bulk of the saves. They've had plenty of that when they have guys they can trust. I think with Fairbanks down and Adam at the helm, if he's not pitching, if he's pitching well in the way he did last year and so far this year, he will be the A guy. This is the first real closer that we've had come out on the wire. And like you said, not super available in the main, but in your 12s and lower, that's where you can get some saves, Jason Adam. And obviously it's an amazing team. And even if he's sharing, you still want anybody who's getting saves on the best team in the league because they're always going to have the most opportunities.
Absolutely true. And something to watch for. Garrett Clevenger might be the left-handed option, but he was complicit in that Sunday blow up against the White Sox.
Yes,
there.
he was.
He didn't retire a batter, gave up 2 hits, a big home run in that one. I think he's the one that gave it up to Vaughn, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I thought so. And Adam was not. No, Adam pitched the 8th in that game. Interesting. In that one. So it was Beeks and Clevenger that were the ones that blew it in the 9th. For what it's worth there.
The two lefties got smoked.
Yep.
And that's how that one went. Kelly, Poche, and Adam were clean. Poche even gave up a run too. All the lefties. The White Sox loved seeing each lefty come in that game.
Yeah, because they are an extremely right-handed lineup too.
That's
so that
true.
Makes sense.
Their best players are righties.
Yeah. The Yankees are the other team I want to talk about closer-wise. We saw Michael King get a save on Tuesday, the day after Clay Holmes blew a save. Holmes did get a vote of confidence. Then he came in and gave up another run yesterday.
Yeah, that's a little bit nerve-wracking right now. The old dreaded vote of confidence. I know it's kind of a meme, but it's like when you get that, you feel like you have a target on your back and that it's not necessarily going to go well. I'm definitely picking up Michael King. That's the guy I'm going for there. I don't know if I'm specking beyond that. I guess sometimes you do have to just go, if like you don't have the money or you don't want to put out the money, you go for a Ron Marinaccio or a Wandy Peralta as the lefty guy. But if you're really trying to get the saves, I think you got to go for King. Got the save on Tuesday, like you mentioned. And he's a really good pitcher. Health has really been the only thing that's been able to slow down Michael King. They're not fully away from Holmes, so I'm definitely more Adam than King. But if you go for a big bid on Adam and it comes up short, a supplemental bid on King might be the way to go. And I'm not too worried about the Yankees. We're talking about some of the quality teams that we're not worried about. I know things haven't gone their way, but they're in last place at 17-15. The Cardinals would kill for that.
Yeah, so right.
I'm not worried about them. They're just in a tough division. They're still a pretty good team. I don't love them. I didn't pick them to win the division, but I don't think they're bad either. Yeah.
So he's available in one of my 3 main event leagues. Michael King is. Michael King was in our waterfall in all of our leagues, but we didn't get him. And I wish would have had the foresight to go a little bit more aggressively on him, because now he's going to be a lot more expensive. He hit 74. He's rostered in 74% of main event leagues, 42% rostered in the online championship. So who are you bidding more on, Jason Adam or Michael King?
I'm definitely going to go harder on Adam. I got to, because again, I really think he's more of the A guy, especially because Holmes is still there and Fairbanks is on the IL with the Raynaud syndrome returning. So you definitely want to go Jason Adam. He's 85%, so he's not as available, but he is available in my league, so maybe I will take a look at that. And then King, you put a decent bid, but probably 2/3 to maybe even half the bid that you're putting on Adam. That's where I'm at personally with them.
Yep, indeed. So okay, I like that. I think it's too late to go after Ezekiel Duran on the Rangers, but if he's available, how interested are you in him as just a hitter?
Interested enough that I picked him up last week. And so 96% rostered, so I'm talking like 2 main events. So you're looking at 12s and below. And then at that point, I don't think he's definitely a 15-team guy, Ezekiel Duran, right now. He might play himself into 12-team, 10-team viability, but right now he's more fringe in a 12 and not even really considerable in a 10 just yet. But the dude can hit. And they've already said that they're going to move him to the outfield when Seager gets back because they want his bat in the lineup. And he's just cooking right now. Is the 408 BABIP going to last all year? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But power and speed. I know he doesn't take walks. He has like 2 on the year, maybe even just 1. But they're going to keep a guy in like this in the lineup because he's delivering right now. And when it smooths out, we can figure out what to do then. But right now, Ezekiel Duran is a pickup in deeper formats for sure.
Heart Foundation asks, how about Jose Siri on the Rays? He was hurt for a while. Now he's back. Some speed, lots of speed, some power. Playing time's obviously a concern with that crowded Rays outfield, especially now that Josh Lowe is a thing.
Yes. But I will say Siri is somebody that they seem pretty committed to. They do want to give him a shot, and being able to play center field and a good center field that does help him. He's going to be super volatile though. Jose Siri does have power, speed, but a 33% K rate in his career with just a 6% walk rate. That's going to breed those, 1 for 28s. But then when he's dialed in, you're talking 2 homers, 5 steals in a week type of stuff is possible. So I do like him. He's worth going for. Again, I think it's 15 teams right now, maybe some 12s, depending on where your team is at. But for the most part, you're looking deeper formats with Jose Siri.
Yep. Star Platinum asks, we were talking about Michael King earlier. Would you prefer him or Jackson on Oakland now that Uris Familia is no longer part of the family?
Yeah, I got to go with King just on the better team. I know Jackson might be the guy, but they're just so bad. And no matter what the analysis is, I know sometimes we try to convince ourselves, well, the crappy teams play closer games, so their wins are more save opportunities. The data is undisputed. The best teams get the most save ops, 100%. Yeah. So I got to go King.
Yeah. Do you have any Kevin Gossman in your life?
I don't. Is his bet? Oh, wow. It's 6-0. I have this on. I hadn't even looked over at it.
Yeah. I saw the quote from Mr. Grouch saying Gossman getting hit around by the Sox 6-0 in the second. This is the second time, Gossman's been amazing for like 4 outings and had one hideous outing. And now he's had his second hideous outing.
BABIP again.
Yeah, it is.
He had that huge BABIP last year, and we all thought it would regress, but like he's getting hit around. This is 7 hits in an inning in a third right now. Does he even have inning and 2/3? So I don't know. There's something about where he becomes hittable. I don't know if it's the splitter or the fastball. If it's the splitter, it's probably hanging, and he's not getting down on it enough. And then if it's the fastball, then it might just be a fastball that doesn't have enough life. He looks amazing. Like you said, 8 out of 10 times, but those 2 can spoil the 8 sometimes. Like that's how frustrating negative outings are. And a 6-run outing in 2 innings of work right now, we'll see how much more he gets. Those are scary. And he just allowed an infield single here, so he's going to have to keep going. It's still an inning and 2/3.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't know. I remember when he got called up. We all had Gauss mania.
Absolutely.
Through 98 at LSU for the Orioles, like their big hope and all that. And then he got Orioles.
It took forever for him to really figure things out, to the point where when he went to San Francisco, I'd already moved on. I was like, they should use him as their closer. I don't know why he's even starting. He had that great run with y'all in 19 out of the bullpen. I was like, that's his role. Let Gausman be a super reliever with 2 inning stints or closer. San Francisco fixed him, and now he's an ace here at starting at age 29 back in 2020 through age 32. But this BABIP thing has become a problem, and I think we're at a point here, 200-plus innings in, where we can't just say it's been unlucky.
Yeah, a little bit. I just saw a little bit where he just gave up an infield hit. So there's a little bit of that.
That one's
there.
Unlucky. Yeah, wrong time to say that, because that one's definitely bad luck. Yeah. But a lot of times last year, I was doing the analysis because he led the league in BABIP, and Gausman was giving up just a lot of well-struck balls in spurts, though. So again, his stuff leaves him for periods of time, but then he gets it back and dominates for 4 starts. You're like, okay, this is the ace that I know and love. So it's tough, but there's nothing actionable here, right? You're never benching Gausman. I'm not.
Oh, of course not. Of course.
So that's the tough part.
It's about trades, really, only that.
Yeah, trades and trades only.
Yeah, maybe go trade for him right now, because maybe just Fenway Park. It's been a bet. The Red Sox in Fenway. It's an avoid almost at this point.
Oh, absolutely. They've been tough. I didn't see much of them as a team overall, mainly due to their pitching, but their hitting is right scary. I mean, they're 18-14. You do not want to mess with that lineup, and they don't even have all the cylinders clicking over there, but they've got enough of them that you need to be careful with that Red Sox lineup.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see about that. I want to rip through a couple of other news and notes before we sign off, and we'll hit some questions at the very end as well, if there are any more remaining. Braves. Michael Harris didn't play today. Didn't look good at the time when he tweaked his knee. They said he was available as a replacement today, but after the extended absence he had last time, that's Vegas, Maine. That's part of the 700 Club team. I took him in the third because I need stolen bases. Yeah, I'll take him.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
It's really nerve-wracking
Tough
right
luck.
now because he's not playing, right? It's one thing if they're playing and struggling and you're just like kind of sitting with him to try to get through it. But if he's hurt, then obviously you have to do something there. As far as the replacements there, I doubt you're trying to get Kevin Pillar. He's not going to fill that need. I like what Sam Hilliard can do, power, speed, but he's like Siri, where he strikes out so much that it makes him so super volatile. So I think you just got to ride it out with Harris. At least you paid third round. I didn't like the paying for him at the turn or the second round firm price, but at least you got a little bit of a discount in the third round there. He's super skilled. It's just a thing of now they're moving him down the lineup too. He's batting in the lower third when he got back, and that's kind of a bummer because at the top of the lineup, he doesn't even have to be like as good as he was last year to still deliver a ton of talent. Bottom line though, if Harris is in, you got to play him. You just got to hope that this isn't a long-term issue.
Exactly right. So we'll watch on that one. Kyle Wright, same team, 700 Club. Took him right after the first break.
Man.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a week, dude. Lost Luis Garcia after 8 pitches this week, same team. I had another guy just get strafed, which is just as bad. But, I mean, that's why you get despondent. You see stuff like that.
It's just never ending.
And I don't see any – this could be – cut zone for Kyle Wright.
I think so. Yeah, I think we're in that zone right now where we're assessing whether or not this is just a lost season for Kyle Wright, and I think it's tracking that way. I don't want to be too overreactive, and obviously I'm not going to do anything until they say he's done for an extended period of time, but he's already back on the IL, right shoulder inflammation, started the season injured, has had injury issues throughout his career. This is nerve-wracking with Kyle Wright, and I don't know that it's going to be particularly favorable right now. So if you have him on a team, as you do on the 700 Club Ball Club, I think it's time to start looking a little bit harder at those prospects. And by the way, can we throw in one more guy just real fast? Don't sleep on Louis Varland. He did not have a great first outing that we're all kind of looking forward to. He's not super available in the main. So again, we're looking OC and shower leagues like that. But I think he's somebody to go ahead and get, 0% available in the main. But 12 teamers, I think Louis Varland is viable, and he can be your Kyle Wright solution too if you don't get one of the big time prospects. Minnesota does great things with their pitchers. I think he's the next one to kind of be a change development project for them.
Agreed. As Scott and Ryan Bloomfield were talking on Sunday night when I got pipped out of the Sunday night podcast, not coming to a podcast near you, apparently. No, just kidding. But they were talking about, it wasn't just that Varland got picked up. He got picked up for reasonable FAAB currency, like $60, $70 a FAAB at an $1,000 budget. So, he was a guy that, was really, the sharps were all over Varland. We'll see if they can be patient throughout this year, but I believe in his skills. Remember, he had a good outing at the end of the year last year as well.
He was definitely a sharps type of play, getting in on him early here, and now he's in the rotation with Molly down, and I think he's going to be really interesting. I really like Bailey Ober there as well, another guy that I think they got 2 guys here that they're just going to plug in, and I don't think they're going to necessarily miss a beat, even though they're missing some pretty good pieces.
Agreed. I love Bailey Ober. I hate that I dropped him in AL tout. Stupid. And then missed out on the bidding by that much coming back. So
that makes it worse. At least if you got blown out of the water, you could say, "Oh well, I tried, but I couldn't get him."
That's the league where I lost Jeffrey Spring, so it was super fun. Man. Yeah, good times. And I'm waiting for Bradley to get called back up. There's all sorts of stuff where I'm like, come on, guys, let's get it together here. One other Braves note: Ronald Acuna fouled a ball off his knee, and it's been a tough week physically for him. So watch to see if anything becomes of that, because obviously just the best player in the game right now, fantasy wise.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So amazing. Love him. Obviously you're hoping that there's nothing to worry about there, but what an absolute stud. Yeah.
So Acuna did leave late in that game for what it is worth.
Did get another stolen base though.
Yeah, he did just to kind of rub it in their face a little bit, but then he left. So something to watch for there. Matt Olson did homer against AJ Puck in that one. Attaboy, Matt. Love that.
Lefty action.
Dude, Matt Olson's swing is one of my favorite swings to watch in the game.
I love him. He's so good. Not much for the batting average, kind of a classic old school slugger with the big OBP, but so much power. He's just incredible.
Yeah, it's just a sweet lefty swing. I love seeing that. Nolan Gorman left today's game with a back issue, and it's something he's dealt with before, but they also said because he's dealt with it before, it's no big deal.
Yeah, I think we take them at their word right now, and we'll just see what's up. Obviously, if you're in a weekly league, can't do anything about it right now anyway. Got to check to see if he's in the lineup tomorrow night and Friday if you're playing NFBC with the split week, and see if you want to put him in for the Friday through Sunday lineup. But right now, I'm not too worried about it, and we'll kind of assess when we get more news.
Ricky Tiedemann won't be one of the pitching prospects we're going to see this week or anytime soon, it looks like. Left today's start with an injury.
Oh, no. See, he was one of those summer ones that people were hoping he could come up and be major. Now, he's pretty young, so I was always a little bit skeptical on, like, is he actually going to come up? I mean, he's in Double-A. We just saw Bryce Miller skip Double-A, but he's 4 years older. I thought that Tiedemann was going to take the classic half the season at Double-A, then go to AAA, and then if he's really ready in AAA, then maybe it could be a late season call-up. He is electric. Let's just hope it's nothing major, but that really sucks that he got hurt. I actually missed that he got hurt today.
Yeah, it just happened this afternoon, so
That
bad
stinks.
news there. All right, let's blow through some of these questions if we didn't get them already, and if we don't get them here, apologies, but hit us up on Twitter. We'll be happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely.
Otherwise. Lanny asks, drop Springer from Mervis right now. Would I be able to trade George for him in 2 weeks? Probably not. Yes, you would. Don't drop Springer. Do not drop him at all.
You have a better cut. You definitely have a better cut, Lanny.
Yeah. So this is definitely don't do the panic thing. We're lamenting our poor starts, and Penguin says I'm in first because I started with Connor Joe. I saw a tweet from Vlad Sedler. Connor Joe is one of 6 players that's got a over 300 ISO so far. All it took was getting out of Coors, apparently.
That's incredible. I know, and I actually liked him in Coors. I was caping for Connor Joe in Coors last year, thinking like, hey, he's a quality hitter, a lot of contact, he can maximize that park, and he was kind of bland. And now this year, 4 homers, 2 steals, and a 988 OPS thus far. That's bananas.
Yeah, totally bananas there. So appreciate that. George Kirby comment, only struck out 2 today against the A's, did go 7 innings. But yeah, Kirby hasn't been that guy that we were drafting this year. Not that we were expecting to get when we kept on pushing him up.
You know, I love George Kirby. In the Kirby Gilbert debate, I thought that the Gilbert hate went a little bit too far, to quote the old ESPN Fantasy Focus podcast, and I didn't quite understand it. The knock on both was they don't have a classic swing and miss pitch, and that is true. But Kirby's hasn't developed anymore, whereas at least Gilbert's missing more bats. He's got a 30% K rate right now. So I kind of pivoted late, closer toward Gilbert because he was getting a discount. I like Kirby, but as his price rose and Gilbert stayed the same or dropped, I ended up on Gilbert a little bit more because I think they're 1A, 1B. So if one's going to be cheaper than the other by a significant margin, I'm just going to take the cheaper one.
Indeed. I think Scott Jensen moves markets because he said that he was kind of fading Gilbert, and after that, I think everybody jumped on board. So that's
I appreciate it. Thank you for the discount, Scott.
Yeah. James says Max Scherzer or Alek Manoah the rest of the season.
Oof. It's going to be Scherzer for me. I'm not super worried about Manoah, so I'm just going to go with my early season, my draft season read. A month has not changed it, and it was Scherzer over Manoah then. I'm still there.
Yeah, indeed. So, watching Manoah yesterday get BABIP'd, and he clearly wasn't the same after he got hit by that comebacker. That was a tough one there. So that was brutal. Scrolling down here, apologize for that. It makes really good things. Uncle Ted mentions Dane Dunning. I wanted to talk about Dane Dunning for a little bit there because remember, he was the big part of the Lance Lynn deal at one point in time. They're kind of using him as in tandem a little bit. He's not a full-time starter, but with DeGrom out, Dunning maybe gets more of a chance to start for a while, and I think he's actually pretty good. I just don't know the role that he has, but I like his skills.
Yeah, I tend to like Dane Dunning a bit myself, and I do think that if he is committed to being started, then 15 teams for sure, and then you kind of look at it in 12s and decide, do I need a pitcher right now, and I didn't get all the studs. Maybe I could spot start him. I would definitely be streaming Dunning more in the shallower format. But in a 15, I think if he was committed to a role, I'd be wanting to start him. I'm looking at the RotoWire projected starters page, which is excellent. And right now, y'all got him penciled in for a 2-step next week at Seattle and at Oakland, but it's not bolded, so there's no commitment to that yet. But that would be nice. I would pick that up all day and go for that just for the at Oakland, not to mention the fact that Seattle has not hit all that well. They're not terribly scary. So I would sign up for that. Keep Dane Dunning on your deep league radar.
We're notoriously shy of commitment, so I get that there. That and they had 5 days. They have 5 games this week. They were off Monday, off Thursday, so they can do a lot of different maneuvering here. Frederick wants to know of Riley, Austin Riley, Ty France, Beatty, keep one, trade two at highest current trade
Riley's
value.
not in that combo. He's so far above them.
Although
it's
you could
France
get a
and
mint
Beatty.
for him, maybe.
That's true. I mean, I guess if you're trying to get an ace or something, then sure, consider trading. I guess you're not saying cut, so never mind. That's fair to include him. If you want to get a mint, Riley should give you your biggest return. So yeah, maybe it is worth saying trade Riley. And then between France and Beatty, I am pretty even on them. I think Beatty's more power, France is more average. So which of the two do what do you need more on your team? I would kind of let that dictate. But yeah, maybe I would trade Riley because he would get so much.
Star Platinum wants to know how you handicap the Colorado closer situation. Is it Pierce Johnson, who now that Daniel Bard's back? Johnson pitched today. I think he came in with a 9-4 lead in the ninth, but Bard pitched the 7th yesterday.
Yeah.
I think this is fluid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely fluid. And there's not going to be that many wins anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I know if you're turning over every rock for saves, you care. So I don't want to dismiss people that are interested in this. I think Johnson's a hold right now or a pickup if you're trying to get a few saves. I don't think they're just going to turn it over to Bard. They're going to ease him back in. They want to make sure that they're taking care of him and let him ease back into things to where he's comfortable. So I don't think he's immediately the guy. I'm fine picking up Johnson if you want to try to snake a couple saves.
Brooklyn's Bobby's card rips took issue with their Tony Gonsolin conversation. Career 2.53 ERA, 1.00 WHIP after 5 seasons. No, we don't think he's a scrub. I just think there is a correction after what he did last year, and then on top of that, the circumstances aren't the same. The defense is nowhere near as good as it was last year. You had Trey Turner at shortstop. You had a real second baseman. Vargas, for all the things he is not a good second baseman. Mm-hmm. You don't have the shift. There's a lot of things, at least the aggressive shifting. You have shift limitations. And he doesn't strike batters out compared to other pitchers. That's why I think people were talking about discounting him. And
before last year, it was 40, 47, and 56 innings. And 4.11 Sierra skill interactive ERA, which is on the ERA scale like a FIP, 352 FIP. So the FIP's better than the Sierra, but the bottom line is neither are anywhere near 253, meaning that he has maximized his environment. That environment has changed, as Jeff outlined. That's our concern with him. And how much can you rely on him? That volume total is weak. Even his breakout year last year didn't qualify for the ERA title. So that's all we were saying. He's not a scrub. He's a quality pitcher. But I think 4 innings of Gonsolin, 2 of Thor, I think that would make a lot of sense for them to keep Stone in the rotation too.
Alan Sislowski says to smash that like button. Appreciate you guys. And let me know and Paul know. Not just me.
Yeah. Hit that like button for us.
Appreciate you guys on that one there. Mateo and Ashcraft for Scherzer. Victor Garcia is asking. I don't know. Which side for the rest of the season would you prefer?
12 teams. I think you're trying to consolidate talent in 12 teamers. I think this is a Scherzer buy low opportunity here. No shot you were getting this opening day. I'm taking Scherzer here.
All right. Indeed.
This is a true buy low.
Indeed. I agree with you on that comment. Having traded for Mateo in one league, I had a choice of trading Giolito or Luzardo for Mateo and Waiver. I chose trading Giolito. Of course, Giolito's been much better lately, and Luzardo's kind of slowed down lately. So
I would have made the same decision. If it matters to you at all, I would have made the same decision. I think that's a fair trade either way. Mateo has made some tangible changes that look good. I was not in on Mateo this year based on the hitter he was last year, which was a very bad hitter. I didn't want any piece. He has improved himself. Hats off to him, because these improvements, if even a bit of them stick, he doesn't have to stay at exactly this level, but if a bit of it sticks, he's a fantasy superstar, and he's going to be this year's like Jonathan VR from when he had like the 17 and 62 steal season.
Exactly. Hey, I told Paul that we'd be on for 45, 50 minutes, and now it's been 65 to 70, and he's got a hungry dog waiting. So we're going to let him go now. Paul, thank you so much. I had a blast talking baseball with you, as always. It's always a pleasure talking with you. Thanks for joining us today.
Jeff, it's always great talking with you, and we got to do a home and home. I'll have you on the Sleeper and the Bus very soon.
Anytime, you name it. All right. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Guys and gals, thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate you. Thanks to everybody for all the great comments in the forum. We really do appreciate all the feedback there. It's awesome to see that there. Thanks to Rival Fantasy for their sponsorship. Coming up tomorrow, we got 2-star starters, Clay and Todd. So make sure to lock it in, tune it in for that as well. Lock in, hit that like button, subscribe so you can get all of our content. Let you know when it's available. Take care. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.